I'm here. Do you see me?
Yeah, there you are. Hello, parents. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I wanted to come on with these amazing people with me to update with you guys about the documentary film Parental Alienation, The Aftermath. We recently had a premiere, so that's why I thought it would be a great time to bring on these people. We don't have everyone here, but at least we have Paul and Atlanta, who were featured in the film, and we have Claudia and Rachel, who are advocates. So these people actually flew into LA. I'm so grateful for you guys to actually fly in to attend the premiere. We premiere at the legendary Chinese theater in Hollywood. Now, for people that are not familiar with LA, this is a very outstanding landmark. It's really an honor to be able to like premiere our film there. It's not because I'm Chinese. I'm not Chinese. It's not a place to show Chinese film. It's nothing like that. Someone actually asked me that today. So I want to clarify. It's actually a very historical landmark. It's a very high honor, and it's very well respected venue for the entertainment industry to be able to premiere that. So we were very fortunate to get accepted into the Golden State Film Festival. So we premiered that last Saturday. So I thought it would be great. Actually, before I go on much longer, I wanted to check. Are you guys be able to hear me or anything? Is this actually live properly? Can you guys, Claudia and Richard, can you guys help checking? Because I don't seem to see the comment.
People are saying hello. You're
Okay, thank you.
watching us.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, because it's for some reason it's really weird. It's never showing up properly for me, and sometimes it
You have
takes
so
a
many
minute.
monitors.
Sorry, what?
You have so many monitors.
So Claudia actually been to my house, so she actually knows I have 5 monitors, and I do have a bit of problem sometimes trying to figure out where things are. But I definitely have trouble today seeing any comments right now. So okay. Anyway, we're just gonna I'm gonna assume that you guys can hear us. Okay. And hello to everyone. I apologize, I can't see your comments yet. We'll hopefully pick that up in a second. Yeah, I definitely don't see the comment. That is so weird. Okay, so let's talk about the experience being in the film. Atlanta, do you want to start? I mean, Atlanta is one of the adult children of parental alienation, and her story was featured in the film.
Oh, hey, put me on the spot. Well, it was a very unique experience. I felt it was powerful, well put together, by the way. Not sure what you're specifically looking for here.
How did it feel to see your story being shown?
It was awkward, to be honest. It was awkward, but I felt like it was time that this issue was brought to light. And just knowing that people are able to see that and recognize that this is an issue, this is something that's out there. The response of the audience was impactful.
I had to say, like, that was very brave for you to put yourself out there and share your story, which is very intimate. This is a story of so much of your childhood trauma and you know, putting yourself and being vulnerable to be out there. That's very brave. And I wanted to say thank you, really. And then, you know, but it's so important, especially for the adult children, to share, because really you guys, I mean us, I am one of those adult children, we are the only ones that can really speak to what were happening behind closed doors, because really a lot of this happened to children behind closed doors. And it's very hard for parents to, you know, parents screaming and said, I know something is wrong, but you know, people don't understand until we speak up. So really, thank you so much. You said the audience, let's talk about the audience response in a minute. Paul, what about you? You're also one of the adult children that were that was featured in the film. What was that experience like to see your story on the screen?
I'm sorry, I am doing three things at once here. Like you were just saying, like everyone was mentioning, it's very hard as an adult to adequately transmit information and emotions that you imprinted as a child. And there's so much that could probably be a book right there, just trying to discover what that all means. Let me just say that in the audience, which was packed, when they announced the 4 films, the title got the least best response, right? But I think, I don't really know, but it seems to me when the film was over, it was the most well received. That was my impression. But also, like, I was just trying not to cry like a baby, during the film, because, it's a little, but it's such a touching thing. And I really didn't know that I'd be really much in it. So it was all a big surprise to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so Paul, and actually I can kind of sneak in and see some of the comments. I wanted to say hello. Hi, Mara. Thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear us. We see Vivian. Hi, hello. We saw Amy in the comment. Claudia says she cried. Actually, I was crying. Actually, a lot of us was crying. I tried so hard to not cry. I've seen this so many times because, I filmed this and I edited this and I sit there and I was still crying. So Paul, actually, I showed him the trailer and he refused to watch the trailer because he said, I can't bear seeing my story. And so anyway, I begged him to turn up to the premiere anyway.
Like a week before, I wasn't going to go. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I met everybody.
Yeah. So okay. So is it weird to see your story up on the screen?
Oh yeah. Like, you kind of tricked me. You didn't tell me exactly what the title was until we were like halfway through the interview, right? I don't think I even knew the term parental alienation, and I still mess it up. So I really didn't know. You just asked me to talk about my family's past. I didn't really know what I was going to say until we were into it. And like, I think many of us, we have a lot to say, but we generally don't say it because, it seems like whining or whatever. But especially as adults, right? You just move on with your life.
Yeah. So Paul and I have known each other for, I don't know, probably 10 years or something like that. And I never realized that he's actually an adult child of parental alienation. I knew, there was childhood trauma, but we never really dig into it. And then when I was start lobbying for law changes in Texas, and I was talking to Paul, and he said, my cousin is lobbying for something else in Texas. And, if you wanted to exchange notes, you guys can talk to each other. Let me introduce. And he still doesn't even think about the topic to be relevant to him. I didn't know that the topic is relevant to him. I talked to his cousin who is lobbying for something completely different. And then, I was talking to her, and then she said, oh, the topic that you are working on, Paul is a victim. He was a child. And so I came back to Paul and said, hey, can I interview about your childhood? And that's why Paul said,
you probably, in fact, I know you told me what it was about, and I myself didn't even make the connection. That's how nefarious it all is, and how in your own mind you make excuses and you obfuscate the past and the present, I think.
Right. So Dimitri in the chat room said it's a touchy subject. The thing is that victims don't even know what we're looking at. We're looking at all the stuff that's going on with us, even as children or the targeted parents. We see this stuff's going on, but we don't even know what we're looking at. We know something is wrong. We know that it's abuse. We just don't know what we're looking at. So anyway, I interview him, and then he, I think, slowly realized that this is relating to. So he was saying that when our film was premiere in a block of films at the same time. So there are 4 films together. And the name of our film, because like you guys realize, a lot of people, when you say, do you know what parental alienation is? You get a blank stare from the audience. And this is exactly what happened, is that when the film was introduced, the title was introduced, the audience would just go, yeah, we don't know what this is about. But once we show the film, and then when it's finished, Paul was talking about how, you know, the response, and even Atlanta is talking about the response, was really, really, really impactful. So let's talk about, and Paul mentioned this, you know, the theater was packed. We even had people like, I saw people, and I talked to people later, they were standing in the back, there's no room. So, you know, it's just crazy things like that. So let's talk about the audience. Let's talk about, you know, the response to the people that watching the film. And I know Claudia flew into this. Rachel, you know, these are the people that are advocates for parents and for families. I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what did you guys feel like? What do you guys think about the experience watching attending the premiere? Go ahead, Rachel.
Should I go?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I did get teary watching it. Yeah, I thought it was amazing to hear these people's stories, and having met them and talked to them, and seeing, you know, where they are now, like just thinking about them going through that struggle. I think it's always powerful when you meet, you know, Paul, Atlanta, and Trista. I know she's not here, but yeah, I just found it very powerful, and something that just really needs to get out there for people to understand that it's very common, and these children and now adults are just suffering.
Thank you so much. So we actually had advocates and adult children victims and parents that flew in from you know, Florida, Colorado, Texas, from North California. I got a chance to meet people that I have never met before. You know, it's, you know, and it's so incredible to have that opportunity. I saw in the chat room, we said, Jamie said, where can we watch this? We're going to talk about that in a bit. And we're going to need your help to get the film to you. Miranda said, Parallel World. Bassett, thank you so much for your invaluable work exposing this abuse that is happening. Jamie said, I want to see it. I have not got to see it. Yes, we'll talk about seeing it in a second. Claudia, what was your experience like flying in and, you know, being a part of the premiere?
To me, it was an amazing opportunity to meet Atlanta and Paul and the others that were featured, because it gave me an inside view of what our children are experiencing. And I just thought that they were just really brave for sharing their experience, but just meeting them and engaging with them, I felt like just in those few days that we created some bond. It was really hard for me to leave California, because I felt that I was leaving my support system. That, I mean, we just met from Friday to Sunday, and I was just amazed just watching the film. I cried because I see my children's experiences, you know, live through them, and it's really hard to watch knowing what they're going through, but for them to share it, it was just amazing. And I'm glad that, you know, that so many people after the film, they can somehow relate. They were very vocal about sharing their, I know someone who's going through that. You know, they may have not known the term, but they know exactly what the experience is like. And that was really strong for me, because I know we kind of hung out for a little bit afterwards, and just hearing people come up and say, I know someone, or that happened to me, or what can I do to help? How do we fix this? And that was amazing. I didn't expect people to come up to me, because I wasn't in the film, but I've been advocating a lot for this. So it was an amazing opportunity to be there.
Yeah, and Atlanta, you mentioned that the audience response was impactful. Do you want to elaborate on that? And by the way, was that Matt? Please tell him to join us.
No, that was my son, Dakota. Matt's working late. He's flying till 10.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
he's not here. Everybody loves my husband, including myself. I wanted to go back to, you said, thank you for being brave. That comment to me kind of hits me a little awkward, because I never considered it to be a brave thing to do, just to tell people what my childhood was like. But you know, looking back, reflecting on it, if you would have asked me to do this 10 years ago, I would never have done it. So it took the age and the wisdom to get me where I'm at. The audience impact, when there was a scene that went up that had me speaking about my brothers and what happened to them, and I won't give a spoiler alert here, but you know, kind of what happened there, and when the whole audience gasped, it hit me that, wow, this really is that big of a deal. But because it's just like Paul said, it's just your life. You just move on, you continue on, you just keep going.
I was also, can I jump in there for a sec? I was also so surprised, and I commented later to you, Petra, about the editing. I said, wow, whoever did the editing did a masterful job, because I don't know about anyone else, but I wasn't prompted with questions. There was no like heavy production or anything like that. She's like, so what about this idea? And then she just listened and filmed for what? I ranted on for 30 minutes usually at a time. So the things we said, I don't believe were pulled out of us. I think we were just allowed to speak. But nonetheless, we all seem to say very similar things. And I was talking to Trista about this, and I said, you know, that makes it so hopeful to me, because it means that the abuse is a system that has to follow a certain pattern, and therefore it can be broken. If there's a machine, you can break a machine, right? Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of just add on to what Paul was saying. So what Paul is trying to say is that in this film, we feature, I think, 5 adult children of parental alienation, and none of these people knew each other beforehand.
Mhm.
And I never sort of prompt them to. I never sort of rehearse them. I never sort of feed them any information. I simply sit down and said, could you tell me your story? And so these 5 different people, and in all different places, you know, we went to Georgia to film this, we went to Texas to film this, we went to Florida to film this, we went to, you know, so these people are just everywhere across the country. And we took several months travel around to trying to film these individuals that don't know each other. And then when we edit this film, it's shocking to see that these people are saying exactly the same things. These are 5 completely strangers who have no connection, yet they share the same experience. The kind of things that were happening to them when they were children is exactly the same thing. You watch the film and you see, like, it's like they all repeat the same thing, and it's so surreal to watch that.
Exactly. But I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I feel like it should be not impossible to get in the middle of this process for other children and do something about it. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry, but I don't think you can fix adults. I think that they're kind of baked in who they are. It's in their DNA. It's kind of done. Although they can be aware of their own behaviors for their own children. But if you talk about legislature or something, a social program that tries to diminish even 1% of this process for the next generation, to me, that seems like where the most hope is. And therefore, if all of us are saying the same thing, that means you can analyze it and identify it, which is huge in fixing anything, you know, the metrics, and then break that abusive system, if you will.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to pick
You
up
like how I use violence to stop violence? Break it, destroy it. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Get in there and help in a positive way.
Thank you. So Jamie just shared in the chat room about her experience, how she had an experience where the school administrators actually enabling the alienation, which is really unfortunate. And a lot of this has to do with the lack of awareness. We have such a huge lack of awareness at all levels, in the system, but in the public as well. And this is why it's so amazing, because after we screen the film, we'll go outside, and you know, the theater has this lobby, and we were all hanging out in the lobby, and people just kind of bombarding us. They're all coming up to each of us, and you know, and we don't get a chance to talk to everyone. But it's just everyone coming up is like, oh, this happening to me, and this happened to my brother, and this happened to my cousin, and this happened, you know, just we just hear this, and really every corner we turn, people are like, oh my God, this is such a big problem. Yeah, it happened. And nobody talked about it before, unfortunately. And that's the problem, is the lack of awareness. I know in the chat room, Miranda said, do we know how many podcasts need to be going up? I'm not sure if I understand your question, Miranda, but I'm going to assume that you're saying how many to get noticed, as many as possible. So if anyone knows of podcasts or any kind of media outlets, any way of letting this out there, let us know. Please help us getting onto as many podcasts and as many speaking opportunities as possible. We need to spread the words. Dustin,
do you remember MoMA? Do you remember MoMA from the other movie that was shot in the arm? She, in the movie about the Las Vegas shooting, it was about kind of the mother, the grandmother.
Oh yeah.
She came up to me on the red carpet walk afterwards, and she's like, "Hey, you," and I'm like, "You're amazing." She goes, "My family, same thing," like meaning her childhood. And I go, "You were shot in Vegas." She goes, "Don't worry about that. I'm talking about, alienation." So she's saying that her family, when she was a child, was torn apart, and she was like, "I don't want to talk about getting shot in the arm. That's relatively less." Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Right. So what Paul is talking about is that we were filmed. Our film was screened at the same time, or in a block with a number of others of documentary film, and another documentary film was about actually a mass shooting in Vegas, and one of the victims survived the mass shooting, and so the victim went up to Paul and said, "Oh my God, this happened to me as a child, and that's a lot worse than me being shot in Vegas." That's what Paul is saying. Yeah. Okay, so Dustin in the chat room said, Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice in the house. Hi, Dustin. For people that are not familiar, there's going to be a number of bike rides on the Parental Alienation Awareness Day, which is April 20, actually the day before, April 24th, I believe. 4 location in Pennsylvania. So for people that wanted to participate, if you are in Pennsylvania, if you want to fly in, please help. And we had a different interview that I did a few days ago. So just check out on our video tabs for more information. But these guys are amazing. They're trying to bring awareness in Pennsylvania. So Dustin, thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And for parents, please check that out. Okay, Beth said, yes, we go on with buried trauma and silent pain. And this is the thing. So for the children, a lot of the time we grow up and we just deal with it because we normalize the abuse. We got so used to it that we feel like this is normal, this is acceptable. We don't think that's like, even Atlanta, she talked about how, 10 years ago, she would not talk about this because you just carry on with your life. You don't go, oh, this is a story to share, like this is just our life, and you get used to it. And unfortunately, when we don't speak up, the rest of the world, everyone feel like they are isolated and they are alone. And I think part of this is to help other victims to look at it and say, look, we are not alone. What we are experiencing is abuse, and that is not acceptable, and we don't have to put up with this. And then also for the rest of the world to look at it and say, oh, this is a problem. Let's do something about it. So that is our hope. Okay, Mara said, makes sense, Paul. So this is in response to Paul's comment earlier about how when you're looking at different stories that have consistently the same kind of abuse behaviors, then that shows us that this is something very systematic. And then if we look at that as a machine, then there has to be a way for us to be able to break it. So Mara, thank you for that. Jamie said, not even silent anymore. People see the pain and difference in us. Definitely, yeah. Targeted parents definitely carry the pain around, and even when you're trying to hide it, it's actually really obvious. And for the adult children too, we are broken people, and we try our best to act like we are okay, but really it takes a lot to heal, and it takes a lot to be okay. And even when we are okay, we're not really quite okay. There's always going to be part of us that are never going to be the same. So we saw Jamie says, this is so true. I've been told similar things recently and I was just shocked. Beth said this is dysfunctional. Miranda said by 10. I'm not sure what that is relating to. I apologize if I missed the conversation. And then Jamie said, damn straight, this is psychological issue from adult and they have to acknowledge and want a change. And most of these cases, the adults refuse to acknowledge or men. Yes, that's the problem is the alienators will refuse to acknowledge the trauma that they cause, and even sometimes they don't even notice the trauma that they cause to their own children, and they refuse to take responsibility and accountability for what they've done. We see this a lot in sort of not just parental alienation, but in general, as you know, like narcissistic abuse or abusive people, is that when they it's very rare for them to look at themselves and say, oh, I've done something wrong. They will refuse to take accountability and they will redirect that. And that's why today I did a TikTok and I posted on Facebook too about smokes and mirrors. Is that because, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, is that, if you're trying to hold the alienator accountable, let's say you say, why didn't you take our child to the school last Tuesday, right? So instead of responding to the reality that they did not take the child to school, they will then turn around and say, oh, you never care anyway, you're a bad parent, why do you act like as if you care, like, are you trying to play this? And then they will turn around and use personal attack, like try to get illicit and totally distract you from the key topic, and then try to get you to get emotional, try to elicit an emotional reaction from you. And if you are not careful, you will get caught in all of this mess. That's why it's called smoke and mirrors, because they try to distract you, they try to embellish, and they try to get something that seems kind of credible, but it's not. So they might say, well, you never even passed high school, for example. And that may be the truth, but it has nothing to do with the fact that they did not bring the child to school last Tuesday, right? So it's very important for us to be able to recognize this kind of techniques or tactics. I mean, we see that with abusive behavior out there, where we see people, well, instead of addressing the issue, because they lack of merit in that particular issue at hand, so they will turn around and use personal attack and placing blame on other people, and really to deal with that kind of abuse it takes a lot to step back and be able to know how to deal with that. Okay, so we see in the chat room, we said, Mara said, Paul is correct, even more reason to share this film everywhere. Beth said it's the bad judges and terrible lawyers who suppress so much evidence, let people speak in court. Okay, I think there's a lot more comments, so I'm going to go on to talk about how you guys can help us see this film. I mean, before I go on, like Atlanta and Paul, do you guys wanted to add anything else to in terms of audience response, or how do you think whether the film should be out there, or like anything else about the film, and any other thoughts?
I personally feel like if at a minimum we could just get the general public to understand that if they see a situation like this happening, they see that this child's not going to the other parent's house, that they put some second thought into it, that put some thought. It's more than just, oh, that must be a bad parent, then they just don't want to go over there. Because in my opinion, who doesn't want their parent in their life? Who doesn't want that? Right. It's not normal. I mean, we're not talking about abuse. We're talking about when all of a sudden a very good person, a very outstanding member of society, never had a bad thing said about them ever, all of a sudden now they're a horrible, terrible person. So bad that their child doesn't want to be around them. That should raise some red flags. But unfortunately, society just says, oh, wow, didn't know that was going on. Didn't see that coming. I always thought they were a great person.
Yeah, people will buy into the false narrative that was spread by the alienator, and then the children got brainwashed. So they go, oh, the child, even her child doesn't want to see her, or even his child doesn't want to see him. that must be a deadbeat dad, or that must be a, you know, neglectful mom, and they just automatically take on to that instead of stop and question what's going on.
Mm.
And as long as the society endorsing the abuse, it will just continue to happen, right?
And Petra,
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
the other thing I thought yes, getting that information out, and I guess really that one, I forget her name. There was one girl on the film, the one lady, she wasn't at the premiere. The biggest thing that hit me is just in the sense of trying to help the children is, she said it was harder. The recovery was harder than the abuse. So again, to me, just because of the situation many of us are in with our stepchildren or children, is how they're going to hold on so much to and avoid having to face this, like how hard it's going to be for these children when the public is not helping them and the professionals aren't. Like the more awareness, you know, maybe someone can say something to I don't know, can try, so that, because I just think how she said it, just because it is going to be hard. I'm sure the victims, you guys going through it, they would rather avoid, and you know, because that's just feels probably safer, even though that doesn't feel right.
Right, right. Yes. So in the film there was Elizabeth, who also another adult child. She couldn't come to the premiere, but she shared about that, about how the healing is so much harder, because when you're going through the abuse, you just shut down, and it's in a way you kind of ignore the problem. It's kind of easier, but when you're trying to heal, you actually have to face it, and it's really it's I totally have to tell you, it's so painful. It's like, yeah, it's like a pain that you never have to face. Like, it's just hard to imagine. It's really challenging. So anyway,
Petra,
so
can I jump in?
yeah, please, Paul.
So you were saying, you know, they do this, and I mean, we all do. They do this, and they get away with that. We don't. You know, I like being honest. You know, even when it's not pleasant. And the fact is, I knew my father for 8 years before he passed away, and I never introduced him to my son. And you know, anyway, I could have. And the thing was, that wasn't even a decision on my part. It just never occurred to me that my son should meet his grandfather. And this is someone that I was very positive toward, even though I was isolated from him my whole life. And on another point, me and my two brothers, that's my whole sibling group. Well, we don't talk, none of us talk to each other. I haven't talked to any of them for at least 15 years and never will, by the way. And anyway, me and my two brothers, we all have a son born the same year. None of them know each other. None of them played to each other. None of them, like, think about the loss, the social loss there. And like, it's really hard to put a cost, like on paper, what that means, like quality of life or whatever. But it's got to be large, right? I mean, I know I feel it, but the fact is, I'm the guy that isolated my son from his grandfather, and I didn't even know I was doing it. That's how like trained I was, if you will. And I had no reason to, like, and none of it occurred to me until he died. And you know, it's such a strange thing to be so out of control of yourself. You know, you're the villain in some scenario, right? In somebody's scenario, you are the villain.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for being so honest about that. So that's the thing, right? One of the impact that parental alienation does to the children victim is that it change, because you growing up in this such a dysfunctional dynamic. So you don't know how to learn to build good relationships. You don't know, all of your values are twisted. Your trust,
Right.
the foundation of your trust is broken. So it impacts everything for the rest of your life, and then it translates to the next generation, like you said, because now you no longer are able to have proper, healthy, good relationship with the people in your life. And like you knew who your father was. You were alienated from your father, and you finally, took you decades to find your father, and you found him, but it's not enough for you. You don't have enough courage to open yourself up and fully rebuild that relationship. Because
I would agree with you that I can be a real big coward, but I wasn't in this case. I'd literally never had the thought. It was never a decision at all, or a conversation. I think my wife at the time must have mentioned it like once. And I just completely dismissed it as if it was a decision that was already made. And also, with your sibling, I was talking to Trista about this briefly. We didn't get much chance, but we were talking briefly. And I said, look, how did you and your siblings all deal with the different situation differently? And they all dealt with it differently, right? Some went into addiction. I don't want to, speak for her, but, and so on and so forth. But this is the source of the anger between me and my brothers. And it divides us as adults, because I am angry that my older brother didn't fight, even though you lost every battle, because he kind of did a negotiation by playing dumb. And that infuriated me as a child. And I never let that go. Like, why did you betray me? I just became like the target of all of it, because he found a way to kind of escape some of the worst of it. And, it's also stupid. We were children, right? But anyway, it goes on. The ripple effect just goes on,
Right. He just wanted to survive. He found a way
Right.
of coping. And each of us found a way of coping. And really none of the way of coping are healthy. None of that is healthy, really. And it translates into this impact in our life later, into our adulthood, and then it impacts our children and the next generation and the next generation. So really, I mean, that's the point of the film, is to communicate this to the public. And what I'm so grateful is that there were public in the room. It's not just targeted parents. It's not just alienated children. We had the public in the room, and we converted them. At the end of the film, they came up to us, and so many people were talking about all these different experiences that they never realized that they see it themselves or they see it in someone else. So that's why it's so important to get the film out. Before we talk a little bit more about how to get this film around places, I want to ask you guys, so we went and had the premiere on a Saturday afternoon, but people are flying in from Friday night, and from Friday to Saturday night, we actually had a series of activities. We had a bonfire picnic on the beach on Friday night. We had an after party on Saturday. We had the after party on Saturday. So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, like, how was that experience like? And I have a point. I have a reason why I'm asking you guys this. So yeah, let me know, how was that? What did that feel like? I think Claudia kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah.
It was a great time to talk with other people that had gone through the same thing and really bond. We met some of the most wonderful people on that weekend that I just think will always be some part of my life now, which is not to say.
I want to listen to Rachel and Claudia, because they were there at the after party, which you bailed on Atlanta for your flying schedule or whatever.
I'm just, an early sleeper. And
Mountains to climb, I guess.
Yeah, mountains to climb, literally.
Yeah, Claudia and Rachel, are you guys still there? Do you want to jump in and talk about the bonding experience?
I thought it was great. I mean, because we got to sit with, everybody and kind of like mingle and just catch up on things. I sat next to Katie, and then I sat next to Paul and across from Abby and her daughter. And we just kind of we just talked. It was like small talk. Some of it was related to this, but it was just us having a really good time and bonding. I thought the photos were really good that you shared. And, I just enjoyed the whole experience. I honestly did. It was amazing.
Thank you. Rachel, are you there? Okay,
Her
Paul, go
picture's
ahead.
off. Well, I was going to say, when I've met all my cousins for the first time from my father's side, it felt very, very similar to me. Like, I think Petra, you and I spoke about this like a couple of years ago, but when you kind of come from well, I guess we'll call it a broken family, you tend to make people you meet, your friends, they become your family. And I think this is you remember we were saying, I think at one point that it's kind of like if you lose your eyesight, your sense of touch improves or whatever. Like, nobody wants to have abuse and all that. But on the other hand, you do develop other skills that are, superhuman skills, if you will. And I think that one of them is you make family out of friends, and maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe I know I'm a little bit desperate, as I probably proved through my excessive flirting this last weekend, right? I apologize to everybody, by the way. But yeah, like, it's hard to keep a sense of proportion. So there's a bit of shame there. But on the other hand, you have to be open, and people feel that openness and they forgive a lot of your, problems, and they see maybe the goodness for what it is underneath it all, right? And I think there was a lot of that this weekend, so much so that I myself and more than two people that I spoke with that were there, like, went into a depression when it was all done. It's like being home from vacation and you're like, oh crap, I got to go to work on Monday, right? That's what it felt like.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So this is what I wanted to point out, is that something that I knew coming in, but it's so much more important for me coming out of the weekend, of the premiere weekend, is that it was such a powerful and moving experience for me to see the power of the community. Because, like, you can watch the film, but when you're watching it with the community of the people that understand it and relate to you, and then you create that bonding experience, it's so important. And so that leads me to the next point about how do you get to see this film, is that I want you to help us bring this film to you, to somewhere near you. So this is my plan. We are talking to distributors. We're still looking to get on some kind of network. So hopefully that the film will be available, on a TV network or somewhere. And if we fail on all that, we will put it on YouTube. We'll make sure that it's going to be out there eventually for everyone to see. So that's what we're working on. That's one side of it. But what I really want is I wanted to build the community around this. So what I want to do is I want you to help us by bringing this film to somewhere near you. So we have a form. If you go on our Facebook, you see there's a survey. There's a number of questions that we ask you. We're going to try to go where we have the most audience first. So, please help us by filling out that survey. It's going to ask you where you are and things like that. But the idea is that we wanted to go to, if you know of a church that can give us the space for the day to do screening, if you know other friends and family that you can bring, and then, if we can look at this survey, and let's say if we see, there are 20 parents or 20 people in Vegas, then we're going to do a screening in Vegas, you know what I mean? And if you can help us with, if you know someone that have a projector, we can screen this in someone's backyard. We can screen this, in a church. We can screen this at a community theater, anywhere. I want us to travel around the world with this film. So wherever that you are, I want us to go to you. So if you could help us, if you could fill out that form, and then we're going to look at it and see where we have a number of people, so that we can actually help pulling in the audience and can help making this happen. Please help us, because I want this to go to you. So what we're asking for is, if you know other people that you could bring to the screening, if we do have a screening near you, we ask you where you are. And then if you know someone that could help us with the venue, if you don't, that's okay. But if we have enough people in your area, we think that we can have enough audience, we are going to make it happen. So even if you don't know, someone that have projector or speakers or space, it's okay. Just let us know wherever that you are. So Jonah, I saw in the chat room, said Petra messaged me the church that I would recommend is huge. with a restaurant, that's great. Because this is the thing, I want us to have not just watching the film, but have this community, like Atlanta and Paul and Rachel and Claudia, like all the people that coming in. Actually, just a mention of Katie. Katie is from the National Parent Organization, and she's in Denver, and she flew in as well, and she was there. You know, we have other people as well from North California and everything. So that community, when you actually get to hang out and meet with people in person, it's so powerful. And it can really, and like Atlanta says, these people is going to be a part of my life. And that's exactly it. I want you to build your second family. You need this. Parents need this, because for you to endure what you are going through, you need support. You need your support network. So let's build it. While we're showing this film around, let's build the community around it. You know, for children, for the adult children, you need healing. So you also need that community. So let's build this community. So this is the reason why I'm doing this event today, because I want to ask you guys, we have the link on our Facebook. I will post it again in the comment. Is for you to please fill out, and then we're going to look at the list of everyone that responded, and then we're going to try to kind of figure out where are the locations that we should do the screening. But really, I hope that we can screen this all around the world. At the same time, we're going to still look for distributor to go on a network. That's still a big distribution is very difficult and challenging, but and it's always take a while, because you know it's all about business with them. But we're going to work on that at the same time. But in the
Hey,
meanwhile,
Petra, can I jump in with something?
yes, please.
So it's so wonderful that Rachel was there and Noelle was there and Claudia was there. And these are people that theoretically aren't directly affected by parental alienation, right? Am I correct?
I believe Noelle is, I never met Noelle before until the
Oh,
screening.
she's being isolated from her. Yeah, I won't say, yeah. But what I mean is they weren't as children, is they didn't experience that as children.
No, she was not an adult child of parental alienation.
And yet, look how these people come to the subject and to the event with the same amount of energy, and there's almost no separation between all the people. And by the way, I also want to mention there were 3 daughters there at the event that came to the meal afterwards, right? That's Julie and your 2 daughters. And I can't help but make this interesting association. It's kind of like Al-Anon, where when you're affected by an alcoholic, even if you don't drink, you still have all the damage from the alcoholism. And it's kind of the same thing here, that if you see what I'm saying, it's like if you want to have a healthy family, it may be that someone who has never heard this term before that definitely needs to participate would resist strongly, but their healthy spouse or child might hear about it and bring them to it. Those are just my thoughts there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we wanted to show not just the victims, but we want people to bring their friends, their family, their school teachers, things like that. We wanted to become, to bring awareness to the public. So really, yeah, and that's the point is, hopefully the experience of being there as a part of that community will change their mind, and then hopefully they will take action, like Atlanta was talking about earlier. So instead of just watching it happening, if they see it happening to someone, they can start asking questions, like, why are you not letting this child sing? Why, you can just start asking the question. That will be the first step. Sometimes interfering is also helpful. So I will tell you this. I was an adult child of alienation, and I remember this at one point. So there was a period that my mother would try to get me to use her family name, her surname, instead of so I was using my mother's name instead of my father's name, which is my legal name. So at school, I started to use, and you guys know this is pretty common with parental alienation, is that alienators will try to erase the targeted parents by disassociate the child by changing their name or getting the child to use a wrong name instead of their actual legal name. So I was doing that, and I remember one day someone actually made a comment, and she actually said, and my mother was not there. She just kind of stepped out, and she said to me, I just want you to know that that's actually illegal, that you are not using your real legal name. I just want you to know that. And I was a child. I remember, I think I was about 7 or 8. And it really hit me. I had not, like, I don't know anything about the dynamic of my mother and my father at the time. I was just a child. But what did happen is that I stopped doing that. I actually went on from then on with all my homework and everything, with school registration and everything. I actually used my real legal name instead of using my mother's name. So, just something like that. And I remember that statement forever. And I had no idea what it had to do with anything, but just simple statement can make a difference, and you never know how much a difference it can make. And so anyway, I just wanted to point out, so yeah, if we can make that change, it's so important. So thank you so much, you guys. Please help us. Like I said, we posted the link for the survey, for the form, on our Facebook. I'm going to post it as a comment as well in this particular video. Please fill that out, and we hope to go to you. Do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Looking at you, Atlanta.
You're muted, Atlanta.
I didn't mute her. Oh, there she is.
Hey,
What are you saying, Atlanta? We can't hear you.
I told Paul, he's always the one who's got something to say.
I'm gonna actually drive now, like better.
Oh, Paul, don't do that.
I just want to say there are a million topics that this reveals or whatever, unfolds, flowcharts. I don't know how you want to say it, but just whoever you talk to, when we were in that group of 25, just for the dinner, as an example, whoever I was speaking to, I really wanted to speak to like 3 other people, and I felt like I was letting them down. And everyone has such valuable things to say and share, and brings new aspects in, but also it feels familiar, and there's a million topics here, and none of them can we do justice to, on a video chat, right? A lot of these, you got to sit around a campfire with a lot of vodka, to really get to it, right? No vodka?
Here.
Beer. All right. Whatever your pleasure is.
But yeah.
But, just
Yeah,
as an
I get
example, like, I don't think the alienators, the parent that's alienating, isolating, I don't think they think they're doing anything wrong. I think they feel like they're noble and they're doing the best thing possible in
Of
many
course.
cases.
Of course,
I think
yes.
feel that way because to feel any other way would be at having to admit the monster that they are.
Correct. And also, there's all kinds of we don't want to admit how dark people can really be, because it's inside all of us, right? It's in all of us. We want to be careful and safe and not get criticized. So obviously we all have the ability to become that person so there's a lot of things to be investigated here, and depending who you're speaking with, a different topic comes out. So we need a lot of time and we need a lot of effort, and that's why it's so good that we find each other and start the discussion to see where each of us takes it, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. And I totally agree. Nothing can replace the in-person bonding. Really, like when you're face to face, when you're there, somehow it's actually, that bond is so much stronger than anything. I wanted to address one question in the chat room where Jennifer said, would it be crazy for you to just send the movie to us to put it out there? Just a thought, like putting it on YouTube and make it go viral, something I figured that, it can happen. You haven't done just that. I want to clarify this. So I wish that I can just put it on YouTube and it would become viral. I would love for that to happen. But unfortunately, as much as I love to, I don't have that kind of exposure. So for example, our trailer is on YouTube. I would love for you guys to make that go viral. We can't even get enough people to watch this 2-minute trailer. So please, if you can help us spread the word with the and this is why we have to try to go and find a distributor, somebody that have a platform, maybe a TV network or something like that. Because
I actually know a little something about distribution, Petra, weirdly enough. And here's the thing about answering Jennifer's post. If you post something on YouTube, it actually becomes less valuable to a distributor believe it or not. You know that, Petra?
Yes, yes.
If you want to
Because
make a contract, one of the first questions, and they send you a form, is where has this been seen already? Because whether we like it or not, everybody wants to be the exclusive one to break a story. And they see that as most profitable. So you're actually poisoning your own well for any project, if you will, title, by just throwing it up on YouTube just to get, people to see it. Although it seems like the best thing, like Petra's saying, the hugeness of YouTube actually diminishes the value of that process in some ways.
Right. So if we put it on YouTube, it's just going to be another video on YouTube. And there's so many, and it's very hard to stand out and get enough attention. So like I said, the trailer is already on YouTube. If you guys can help spread the word on that, that would be amazing. But even with the trailer, you can see we have trouble getting views on it. So, and I'm not going to play the game of buying views. I'm not going to, I'm not going to fake comments, things like that. I'm just gonna put it out there as it is and let it organically grow, however it grows. So, if you guys can help sharing the trailer, that would be amazing. But we're going to try, we're hoping that we can get somebody that have a network that we can hopefully, leverage from there, already have an audience. So, a TV network or something like that. So it's not going to be easy, but if that all failed, then yeah, we will put on YouTube at some point if we can't get a proper distribution, because it's about framing too. Because when you get on a network, it's also about the recognition that this project has some validity to it, kind of thing. So that's also important. So anyway, but in the meanwhile, we can have private screening, and that's why I'm asking you guys is that help me bring this to a screening event near you. And we can go to a lot of places around the country. We can go to your town, and then we can do a screening, in someone's, like I said, community center, maybe a gym, maybe, someone backyard, anything like that. As long as we have a decent
Petra,
group of people. Yes.
I know you were talking about this before, and I didn't want to interrupt, but the truth is movie theaters will actually show for a group, like a business group, at actually really reasonable rates. And so people do that for like birthday parties and family reunions. Actually, if you go to a studio, and even one of the big ones in your town, and ask the manager, hey, how much for a private screening?
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that, Paul. Like,
but other people may not be for their town.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that. The key is not about the venue. The key is finding that whether we have enough audience in that town to turn up. And that's why I'm asking parents to respond so that we can look into, where do we have a group of people? Like, let's say we get 20 people that respond in, let's say, Vegas, then we can, even if nobody have a free venue, we can figure out a venue. Because if we have 20 people of our own, that means we can bring more people. When we eventually have the screening, that we potentially could bring in like maybe 70 people or something like that. That's the point of it. But anyway, I do have to go. Thank you so much, you guys. I can't say enough about how grateful I am to have you guys there in person, to have that bonding experience, to see, advocates and victims and survivors all kind of bonding together, and then see the public converts and, see the kind of responses that are coming in. So really grateful for you guys. And thank you everyone in the chat room. I'm going to go in and post the link again. The title of the film is called Parental Alienation, The Aftermath. And it's about the impact of parental alienation on the children, and we're featuring these adult children and the long-term impact of parental alienation on us as the adults. And so you guys, if you could help us by liking this video, please share this, and then please also respond to the survey that we have, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, thank you, you guys. I have to go.